All right, so our next game that we're going to make a game that has something that falls. Now, we've made games where the objects move left or right or up or down, but we have not made one where it falls. And you might think, well, yeah, Mr. Dickey, we made one where they fall, they move downwards. Well, as they're moving downwards, they're moving at a constant speed. And what we know is things fall, they get faster and faster the farther they fall. So how do we do that? So far, we've done something like let x get, say, 0. You know what? Why am I saying x? We're going to drop something, so it should be a y. Let y get 0. Let speed get 2. Don't know, whatever. And then we have somewhere down below in our function draw, we have ellipse x. You know what? Since x isn't changing, I'm going to go ahead and just make it a number. Say 200, comma y, comma 40, comma 40. X gets x. Like, why do I keep doing x? Y gets y plus speed. Right? And so every time we loop through the draw, because draw loops, it goes from the top to the bottom, and then it comes around and does it again. So we draw the ellipse at 200 comma 0, and then we add speed to y. So y gets 0 plus 2. So now y is 2. So when we come back around, we draw the new ellipse at 2, right? Not so bad. And then when it comes back around, we draw the new ellipse at 4, and then we draw the new ellipse at 6, and so on. And so the ellipse moves down, but it's moving at a constant speed. Now, in order for us to have an object that looks like it's getting faster, or even is getting faster, we need to change something, and that is we need to let speed also change. So speed changes our position. So speed changes where the ball is. We need something that is going to change speed. So far, so good. So for that, we're going to create another new variable, and I'm going to call it acceleration. I'm just going to use ACC, and then I'm going to give it some value. Now, you may need to tweak it a little bit, all right? Otherwise, it's going to accelerate way too fast. And I'm going to start my speed, because when I drop an object, the instant I let go, it has no speed, right? Because I'm holding it in my hand, there's no speed, and as soon as I let go, it begins to get faster. So I'm going to set the speed, the initial speed, to 0, and I'm going to set the acceleration to 1. Not so bad, right? So now let's, I forgot one thing. We're going to add a background line. So I'm going to move this down a little bit so I've got room for background. Otherwise, it's just going to look like a smear, right? We know that. And now what I'm going to do is, before I change the position, I'm going to undo that. I want my cut line again. I'm going to move this down, and I'm going to say speed changes. And we're going to change speed by acceleration. So far, so good. So what's going to happen now is, as we go through, y has a value of 0, speed has a value of 1, speed has a value of 0. I can read. Acceleration has a value of 1, right? Now, so we draw our background, we draw an ellipse at 200 comma 0. We say speed gets speed plus acceleration. So now speed has a value of how much? 1. And then we say y gets y plus speed. So now y has a value of 1. So we come back around and we draw it at 200 comma 1. So let's keep track of our variables here as we go through our loop. We have y, we have speed, and we have acceleration. So far, so good. You know, I'm going to move these over a little bit. So, and then I'm going to, I'm going to do this. All right, so our first time through, this line tells us to set y to 0. Next line says speed to 0, acceleration is 1. So our first, starting here, when we start here at function draw, that's the value of all of these variables. So then that means we draw our first ellipse at 200, 0, right? All right, so now, then we say, what is speed? Speed is 0. What is acceleration? Acceleration is 1. So what is 0 plus 1? Well, 0 plus 1 is 1. Not so bad, right? And then we say, all right, I'm going to do this. Whoop. So then we say, okay, great. So now, y, what is y? Y is 0. Speed is 1. So our new y gets 0 plus 1, which is 1. And since we didn't change acceleration, we're just going to go ahead and carry that forward into here. Okay? Now we're going to go. So now, when we come back around, this is what the state of all of these variables are right now. So then we're going to draw an ellipse at 200, 1 rather than 200, 0. So it moved down just a little bit. And then we are going to say speed gets speed plus acceleration. Well, right now speed is 1, acceleration is 1. So our speed for our next frame is going to be 2. And then we say, what is y? Y is 1. 1 plus 2 means 3. So now y is 3. And then since we didn't change acceleration, we're just going to carry it forward again. Not so bad. And then we loop back around. So now when we draw our ellipse, we're drawing it at 200, 3, because this is a 3 now. So the first frame, it moved 1 step. The second frame, it moved 2 steps. So it moved twice as far the second time, which is why we went from 1 to 3 instead of 1 to 2, as we would be if it was moving at a constant speed. All right, so then we do the same thing. Speed gets speed plus acceleration, so 2 plus 1 is 3. And then we say, okay, great, y gets y plus speed, so 3 plus 3 is 6. And then since we didn't change acceleration, it moves forward. So now when we draw it again, we come back around, we draw it at 200, 3. So now you can see it's moving faster. Each frame, it's moving faster and faster. So as it falls, it'll get faster and faster. Not so bad, right? Now, what I want you to do is write up this code or something like it. And then what I want is I want it to bounce when it gets to the bottom, right? So I want it to bounce off the bottom of the screen rather than going past the bottom of the screen. So first make it so that it just falls and goes past the bottom of the screen. Not so bad. But then when we get to the bottom, what I want to do, I want to add some code so that we have an if something, and this should be bottom of screen. You with me? So if this is true, you've got to write the code for bottom of screen. Then I want you to reverse the speed. That's your task right now. Your task right now is so that as it's falling, you're gonna write the code so that an object will get faster as it falls, and then when it gets to the bottom of the screen, I want it to reverse speed so it'll bounce. So far so good? That's your task. So you're going to reverse the speed. So how do you do that? You have to think a little bit. You should be able to make it reverse the speed when it gets to the bottom. So far so good? That's it. This is all the entirety of your code. You're going to need a setup. I take it back. You'll need a function setup in there also, but I'll leave you to create the function setup. You know, create your canvas, things like that. So far so good. So this is your task for today. I want you to create this code that has an object that's falling and it gets faster as it falls. When it gets to the bottom of the screen, it bounces and it goes back up. All right? See you tomorrow.